when it comes to the actual agenda for the call, we'll have a welcome message from the Japanese tourism agency. So Mr. Kensuke Momoi will do that. Welcome. Then Guy Bigwood will present the Regenerative Revolution and go over why it is important to act now and give a little bit of context around sustainability and tourism. Then my dear colleague Milda Salciute will present the GDS-Academy, the Global Destination Sustainability Academy, as one of the ways in which we can try and resolve some of the issues that Guy will have pinpointed. And then I'm delighted to also welcome Pil from Copenhagen, who will share some of the lessons from Copenhagen, who are a top performer when it comes to sustainability in the tourism industry. And then we'll close with a little question and answer, where we'll try and go through the different questions that you may have typed into the into the chat box, and then we'll close with next steps. So now, to get us started, I would like to welcome Mr. Kensuke Momoi, Director of the Meetings and Events Promotion Office of the Japan Tourism Office. So, Mr. Kensuke Momoi, if you would like to unmute yourself and jump on stage, please do. I'll stop sharing my screen now so that everyone can see you.
Thank you for your introduction. ご紹介ありがとうございます。私、観光庁の、マイス担当参事官をしております、桃井と申します。よろしくお願いします。本日、GDS ムーブメント主催のですね、セミナーにお招きいただきまして、本当にありがとうございます。感謝申し上げます。SDGs という、ものがですね、昨今2015年にですね、国連総会で、採択されてから、あらゆる世界でですね、SDGs とかサステナビリティとかそういうものが注目されてきて、政府だけでなく、自治体も含めてその達成に日本で取り組んでいるというところでですね、そういう中で観光分野、あるいはマイスの改正誘致においても、サステナビリティというものが世界的に注目されて、その取り組みが重要になってきているということを感じています。そういった中でですね、マイスの、どこで開催するかというところにおいても、それぞれの都市のですね、サステナビリティの取り組みといったものが重視されてきているというような状況を、感じておりまして、一方ではですね、それぞれの都市の皆様でもどうやってそういったサステイナブルなマイス、あるいは都市を実現していくかといったことについては、いろいろ課題とか悩みも抱えているところなのではないかなというふうに考えております。そういった中でですね、本日、このセミナーにおきまして、貴重なその世界の最新事例をご紹介いただけるということで、私も大変楽しみにしております。今回、主に3つの内容があるというふうに聞いておりまして、その世界ではそのサステナビリティを超えて都市のリジェネレーションといったような、そういった、その概念にも進みつつあるといったようなことで、そういったことのご紹介もいただけるといったようなこととか、あるいはですね、そのサステナビリティの、啓蒙を図るための、そのGDS インデックスなどを、開発してきたりといったような、ことをされている、その GDS ムーブメントとですね、一家が、共催する、サステナブルツーリズムの、その新しいトレーニングプログラムである、GDS アカデミーのご紹介ですとかですね、先ほど申し上げた、その新しいコンセプトであるリジェネレーションの最前線ということで、コペンハーゲンでの、取り組み事例をご紹介いただけるというふうにも聞いておりまして、大変先進的ですね、日本にとっても参考になる事例をいろいろとご紹介、事例や取り組みなどをご紹介いただけるものと、感じております。観光庁としてもですね、その日本のマイスのさらなる、その誘致、国際競争に、打ち勝ってですね、世界から、マイス開催国としての地位を、高めていくという上でですね、様々な課題あるわけでございますけれども、そういった中においてですね、この世界から注目されているサステナビリティ、あるいはその先のですね、 リジェネレーションといったようなものにどう対応していくのかということをですね、問題意識として持っておりますので、本日ご参加の皆さんともにですね、今回のセミナー学ばせていただいて、さらに今後のですね、取り組みの参考としてまいりたいと考えております。本日は本当に楽しみにしております。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。Thank you very much.
Thank you. Arigato, arigato, Kensuke. Thank you for the welcome message. Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here, and all of you, really. So I've now wanted to do a little exercise to get us a bit engaged, but unfortunately it only really works when the people have their video on. So instead, I will move this little exercise to the chat. So if you could all, open the chat box. Yeah, so look at the bottom of the menu, open the chat box, and answer the question, are you working on sustainability in your organization? So if you're working on sustainability, just type yes. If not, just write no. And this is just to give us a little bit of a sense of how many people are involved in sustainability. And I see a lot of yeses popping up. Okay, so wow, that's fantastic. Okay, some people partly, well, that's understandable. Only few people can have the privilege of having it as a full-time job. And wow, okay, only yeses so far. I hope that the no's are not afraid to also write it. Do feel free to write no. It's okay. Okay, well, fantastic. Fantastic. It's such a pleasure to be here with so many people that already know a little bit about sustainability, that as they've worked with it in their organization. Fantastic. Okay. Well then, without any further ado, I will now hand over to Guy Bigwood, the Chief Changemaker and CEO of the Global Destination Sustainability Movement. And he will present to us a little bit about the regenerative revolution. Why is it time for a revolution? Why is it time to act now? And what are the potential things in which we can act? So, Guy, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning from Barcelona. Thank you, my son, for your introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm a massive fan of Japan. I've spent many times working in Japan. A couple of years ago, I had a long break and spent 2 months cycling around your country. And you have a firm part of my heart in here. It was wonderful watching the Olympics and bringing Japan into our houses all around the world. So good morning, everyone. As Noah said, I'm the Chief Changemaker. I'm the founder of the GDS movement. And I'd like to share with you a little bit of our journey and what I've learned on that way. And so allow me to share my screen first, and then I will use my presentation. So here we go. Hopefully you can see that nice and full. Hello, okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. As Noah said, please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions anytime. We will respond. So let's take it from there. Good. Okay, so I don't need to tell you, do I, that global temperatures are increasing. There was a new report came out from the UN just in August, which really laid very clear how urgent the situation is and how bad the situation is. And that what was terrible with this report in so many ways was that these effects are ongoing now, and that we won't be able to reverse many of these effects. And so we have to adapt. But there was light in that report that said there's many things we can still do. So we have to adapt to a 2 to 5 degree temperature increase around the world. And what we do as organizing events, as champion tourism, has an effect on this. Global CO2 emissions, carbon dioxide emissions from tourism is going up as the number of people travel. And you can see this up to 2019. So now there obviously is a decrease, but it will probably go back up to a certain degree to that big growth line. The hard fact is that the food we serve to our guests, to our visitors, in many places is killing the planet, whether it's overconsumption of meat or the kind of vegetables and other agricultural that we're using. Every 20 minutes, a species becomes extinct. And the main reason of that is agriculture. Today, you know, in events, we're used to throwing away food, unfortunately. 25% of global emissions come from food production. 8% of those emissions come from the food that we waste. Flying is 2.5% of those emissions, to give you an idea of the scale of food waste. So many aspects of the work we're doing is contributing to this problem. I don't even need to tell you about how bad the sea is through the amount of plastic that is flowing into it. 8 million tons of plastic go in the sea every year. So when I hear and when we talk about sustainability, as we've done for a long time, you know, that word in English, sustain, means to carry on, to keep going. And so when I think of the system that we've created for our events and how we waste things and how we produce CO2, I question whether we want to sustain that. Instead, and right now, I think it's time to rethink and redesign how we organize our events and to come up with a better way, a much better way of producing events. And that I call the regenerative revolution. And it's changing our mindset from the degenerative way of thinking where we produced waste and we didn't care about throwing away the trade show booths. Beyond sustainability, where we've been working the last few years about reducing the amount of waste, reducing a little bit of the CO2. They're just about sustainability, about having a lesser impact, to a regenerative form, which is really about leaving the place better, leaving your destinations better because of the visitors you bring in and because of the events you bring in. Pil's going to talk a lot about how their approach to regenerative works in Copenhagen, and I'm going to share some more thoughts on this. And really, what is regenerative thinking? The term regenerative refers to designing systems and practices that take a more holistic, you know, a more connected systems approach to solving environmental, social, and economic problems. So we're aiming to restore and rejuvenate rather than merely sustain conditions. So that's the key. So the key is about leaving things better. And this is what regeneration is. It's heavily learned from nature and how nature works. Nature is circular. Nature is holistic. So we use along that. When we now apply regenerative thinking to regenerative destinations management, it's about building a balanced living systems approach to develop and managing your visitor economy so that everyone benefits from your tourists and from your event visitors. We aim to solve the problems in the destination, and we're really trying to make that destination even better, more competitive, healthier place, a better place to live in, to work in, to visit. And so to do this, we learn a lot from nature and from circularity. So welcome to the GDS movement. This is what we do. We're the largest movement of destinations around the world committed to sustainability and now to regenerative growth. We are 77 destinations in 27 countries that represent more than 100 million people around the world. We are big mega cities such as Lima in South America or Washington, DC, to smaller places. Last week, I was in the Faroe Islands in the middle of the Atlantic Sea, for example. And our initiative comes out originally out of Scandinavia, and Copenhagen were one of our pioneers, one of the cities that really helped to co-create this. It's a very dynamic, wonderful team of people working on this. And so our mission as an organization at the GDS is to empower these destinations, to help them create the right mindsets, the right strategies, and help build the right skill sets in their destination so that they can become a more regenerative place to visit, meet, and live in. The way we work with all of our destinations is using a benchmarking program called the GDS Index that I will explain next. So that's the Global Destination Sustainability Index. We then, once we help people understand where they are, we help to consult them to get them better. We help cities to communicate more. We build up education through our academy, and we undertake research. So you'll hear a little bit more about those things later. The core of what we do and where we came from is the Global Destination Sustainability Index. And in this index, which we take every city who joins us through, we help them look at 71 qualitative and quantitative aspects of how the destination works. It looks at the city's environmental performance and the city's social performance. So that's how your municipality works in terms of strategy of climate, climate emissions, water, air quality, biodiversity, things like that. Then we look at the supplier performance and see how well your hotels are working with sustainability. Is the airport working with sustainability? What about your event agencies or your restaurants? And then lastly, we look at the destination management organization and see, do you have a strategy for sustainability? What is in it? How do you educate? How do you build the skill set of the people in your organization and throughout your destination? So we go through these 71 criteria that are very aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and with the Global Sustainable Tourism criteria, who we have a close partnership with both the UN and the GSTC. And this allows us to then start to compare and benchmark destinations. It allows us to see what a destination is doing good and bad. So here you can see Copenhagen is doing very good in this chart here. For Geneva, we saw that they had a problem with their destination management organization. So then with Geneva, we helped them to create a new strategy. So this identifies and pulls out a lot of really great work that can be done, and then the destination can then start to really focus on driving performance. So what I thought I'd like to do now is just pull out a few examples of what destinations around the world are doing. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to pull out a few things. And really, I think it's interesting to look at what are the characteristics of a leader. If we look at those top 10 cities out of the 77, what are they doing right? And I'm going to pick a country now that is actually not in the GDS index right now, but I think it's really interesting as a country approach in Asia Pacific region, and that's New Zealand. New Zealand, like many of us, and like Japan, are an island who've been very affected by the pandemic. But they've used the crisis to really change how they're looking at attracting visitors, how they want to really make the visitor economy work for New Zealanders, how they make New Zealanders even better hosts, how they use and how they, first of all, don't damage the environment, but really, and this is regenerative thinking, how New Zealand is enhanced by tourism. Okay, so that's the change in mindset. How do we use things to enhance the destination? And how do we use visitors to contribute even more to New Zealand's economy? So a wonderful reframing of the visitors' economy. And what I love about it is they really integrated their culture, the Maori culture, their indigenous culture, into the way they tell their story of how they're going to look after New Zealand. And so here you see the words in Maori, and then explaining what the values are. And I think, you know, for example, for Japan and for many of you, you have such fantastic values and a culture that you really can bring that alive when you're telling the story of your work, advancing the visitors economy in your event business, in your destination. You have other cities closer to home, such as Goyang just outside Seoul or part of Seoul in Korea. And they've really been taking a lead in Asia in terms of developing their sustainable event strategy for the destination. And they really want to use sustainability to boost the economy by attracting events about sustainability, about being this hub for social innovation. So really, and smart tourism and things like that. So a real clear economic strategy. They have a real clear environmental strategy about accelerating the transition to a low carbon and more circular industry that protects and restores nature. And they then really want to use the events that they bring in to increase the positive impacts on their local people and communities, so that Goyang becomes an even better place to live in. So I think this is quite a nice regional approach. Then if we look a little bit further, we see that the good destinations are getting experts at building partnerships. So how do you build a partnership across your destination? So Sydney has done a fantastic job here at building a sustainable destination partnership. So here's a group of hotels and venues and the city and other organizations who are working on a series here of 4 action areas. So that's really good. That's happening in Sydney. Switzerland and 9 cities across Switzerland are working together. They're using the index to benchmark progress across all 9 cities and learn from each other. But then they're really looking at how do we convey sustainability in a refreshing way, never a restriction, always as an enrichment. So they're really linking sustainability to luxury and nature and all those Swiss values. Wonderful program. I love the way they use an index to really drive performance. And they've come up with some marvelous communication at the moment. And I think when we start to tell stories, we have to tell stories differently. So the good destinations now are co-creating new stories. So if we look at New Zealand, for example, they got all of their residents involved at telling a story. So every day a resident was selected who had to say good morning to the rest of the world, because New Zealand's the first place in the world that sees the new day, slightly ahead of you guys. And so they, residents recorded a video saying good morning and then shared that on Instagram. And so together they were co-creating and co-sharing stories of what their destination should be like. And for me, that is a key element of the future, co-creation. But one key thing is about measuring, managing, and reporting. So Sydney, as part of their initiative, went and did a footprint on the visitor economy. And they saw that 11% of the city's total emissions came from hospitality. 14% of water came from consumption, and 46% came from waste. So from that, they could then set targets to reduce those impacts by 70% by 2030. And then they report on this every year. So data is very important. So I encourage you all to think about how you footprint the negative aspects, but also then think of what are the positive impacts that you can measure and report on. So really into some of that, you know, for me, a regenerative approach is really thinking how we use events to make a better place. So how do we accelerate the transition to zero carbon cities? Many of you, if not all of you in your cities in Japan have that target. How do we drive a circular economy revolution where we're reusing things rather than using things up? How do we build partnerships across the destination and using the events that come into our city to preserve and restore nature and biodiversity? How do we catalyze a healthy and regenerative food revolution? How do we change how much meat we're eating and eat a more balanced planet diet that will help and be in balance with the earth? And how do we build more inclusive local economies where everyone benefits? So this is a regenerative approach for me. And why is this important right now? Well, it's obvious. I've talked about some of the environmental aspects, but this is competitive. Right now, in a survey we did in October last year, which we've done now 3 times, we can see that 96% of 2,000 event professionals around the world said sustainability important or extremely important. There's no black or white, that's 100% black, yeah? This is critical now, everyone is looking at it. In Europe, 95% of the CEOs of destinations are focusing more on sustainability. When I do this now with destinations all around the world, I expect to see a very positive number also. So this means your competitors are in action. So this is a competitive thing. And that's why we're calling now a regenerative revolution. We invite you to come along to be part of the GDS. And if you'd like to know more, I wrote this report called the Regenerative Revolution for IMEX and for Marriott International that really looks at how you make events more regenerative. So here I've talked about the high level, the whys. This is about the how we take events on a journey. And maybe another day we'll present this to you. But I invite you to have a look at that, and you'll get a link in a minute from our website. Okay, so that's my little introduction. Thank you very much. Please feel free to ask any questions. And if not, I'm going to pass you over to my esteemed colleague, Milda.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you so much. And hello, everybody. Hello from Lithuania today. My name is Milda Salciute, and I'm a changemaker at the Global Destination Sustainability Movement, running the Academy, a project with a purpose to catalyze a regenerative future and deliver social impacts through tourism and events. The Academy has been launched back in June this year, together with our strategic partners, ICA and also ECM. As Guy mentioned, there are so many challenges, and in order to tackle those challenges that we currently face, we have launched the Academy, a tool, a response to all of the global climate challenges that we do have within destinations. Our learning experiences are designed for destination professionals, everybody from the top CEO level to junior staff members, as well as full organizations or specific departments within those organizations. By using regenerative framework, we enable collaboration and developed different mindsets, skill sets, and tool sets for the future. And hence, together with various training opportunities, we build capacity within the destination. We also facilitate growth and learning by using design thinking processes, with a strong focus on sharing best practices, like today you will hear from Pil in Copenhagen, but also by co-creating and using learning management system that allows us to create interactive and out of ordinary experiences in learning. Next slide, please. Starting with our signature program, which is the certificate in regenerative destination management, that is designed to be an open enrollment course for senior level destination professionals who are crafting and implementing destination sustainability strategies. And our first certificate class is actually starting slightly later this year in November. And we are extremely happy to invite our first group of participants to go through this program that lasts for 16 weeks and is really designed to build up the capacity in various areas of sustainability for the events, but also for the tourism sector. Also, alongside our signature certificate program, we have shorter and more in-depth programs that we call master classes. These master classes are really 4-week deep dive experiences on a specific topic. And within next slide, I will introduce you the 4 signature master classes that we currently have. So these master classes are unique topics that varies from, for example, impact strategy to regenerative event management. Each block in this slide represents a masterclass on one single topic that is could be delivered to our students as an open enrollment or designed for a destination experience. We can also expand that to the group of destinations. We also have amazing faculty members who are joining these master classes from our education partners, Meet for Impact and Travel Foundation, as well as industry leading organizations, destinations itself, and also various academy institutions such as universities and colleges. Our next open enrollment class that is set on the calendar is actually the storytelling for regeneration class, with a start date just at the end of October. And it's designed for those marketing and communication specialists who are eager to build their skill sets and mindsets and the capacity in storytelling and communication. Another example of great application of master classes that I would like to take you through is actually our impact strategy and measurement masterclass that has proven its relevance amongst destination professionals who need to develop a robust impact strategy and implement measurement processes to monitor that performance. One of the success story that we're currently working on with this specific masterclass is a project that we have developed for Canadian destination management organizations. And within this full experience, a set of different Canadian DMOs will learn key concepts around legacy and social impact, theory and principles, as well as how they can integrate this theoretical knowledge into their own destination, the business events, and also the tourism sector. They will understand the internationally recognized frameworks, such as Sustainable Development Goals. And finally, all this knowledge will be applied in formulating new strategies for legacy planning and impact measurement for this specific group of destinations. And within the next slide, we nicely summarize what that journey is for Canadian DMOs. We built that together with our education partner, Meet for Impact, and set these destinations on a journey from the initial concept to a fully customized impact masterclass within the 6 months, with the final result of developing and creating impact and measurement strategy for the specific group of destination. And this is really a great example on how learning could be developed in a slightly different way with a larger group of destinations who are open to collaborate, to co-create, and are open to continuous learning within sustainability, as well as application in the long run. So in short, that was a brief introduction about the Academy project itself, and also the main learning experiences that it has to offer. And of course, if you are interested to hear more on the specific offers that were covered today, do not hesitate to reach out to us with the contact details that you see on this slide, which is academy@gds.earth. Thank you so much. And Guy, if you have anything to add, of course, please do.
Good. So I like the way you explain that and use that example, because there in Canada, we have 23 destinations working together. Then we have other cities such as, let's say, Belfast in Northern Ireland, who are running out the same class, but together with all of their key stakeholders, with the hotels, with the venue, with the university, with the city. So I like this approach, and this is important that we have an approach that is for the destination professionals or for the whole of your sector. And that's an important thing to pull out.
Wonderful. So thank you, Guy. Thank you, Milda, for going over this, really explaining the why and a little bit the how of what can be done and why it's time to act now. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over now to Pil Krogh Tygesen from Wonderful Copenhagen. Now, she has a professional background in energy and climate politics, working within the Danish government, and now works for Wonderful Copenhagen, the destination management organization of Copenhagen, specifically working on developing their sustainable tourism initiatives. And as I mentioned before, Copenhagen has really been a champion of sustainability for many years now. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say, Pil, and share some of the lessons that Copenhagen has learned on its journey.
Thank you, Noah. I'll just share my screen. I'm getting the thumbs up from Noah. I guess that means that it's visible. All right. Thank you again for having me. I'm very excited to be here. The only thing better would be to actually be in Japan, visiting your beautiful country. That will be for another time. I was given the task today of summing up 10 years efforts in sustainability measures in 10 minutes. And pausing on the learnings and the insights so far. So you'll forgive me if I speed through the measures that we've been doing to sort of allow time to dwell upon the lessons learned along the way. I'll start with some context, because every destination, every city has different challenges and different advantages, and the measures must sort of take this into account. So it's relevant for you to know the context. And also I've chosen to focus on what's happened so far. We have many exciting new sustainability and regenerative measures ahead of us, but those will be for another presentation on another day. So starting with a national political context, Denmark has always had a very high ambition on sustainability, especially within energy and climate. One prominent lately example is the Danish Climate Act that was ratified by Parliament last year, making our ambitions of reaching a 70% reduction in greenhouse gases in 2030 legally binding. Also, an ambition of reaching carbon neutrality in 2050 legally binding. On a city level, city of Copenhagen has also very, very high climate policy ambitions of being a carbon neutral capital already in 2025. So this is 25 years earlier than national policy level, and it's also only 4 years from now. This is a quite daunting task, but so far it seems that we are on track. And the the deficit of carbon to address is shrinking year by year. Also, the city level provides a context for us, which is a good base for a sustainable way of living. As you might have heard of, we have a harbor in Copenhagen with a quality of water that's so clean that you can swim in it. That's what's depicted on this picture. People actually do in very, very large measures. This must have been taken on a very slow day on the harbor. Most of Copenhageners take their bicycle for their main measures of transport. We have good public transportation. We have high share of renewables in our electricity and district heating, and so on and so forth. A good basis for sustainable living. What does this mean for us as a DMO? It means that it serves us a lot of easy wins within sustainability. Does that mean that we as a destination company can lean back and consider the job done? No, on the contrary. This very excellent starting point provides us with a lot of opportunity for setting even higher ambitions for sustainable tourism. This gives us possibilities. And we consider that with possibility comes responsibility. So as Guy mentioned, the work within furthering sustainable tourism sort of began around singular events with a high sustainability focus. I've listed some of the most prominent early examples here. The picture is from the UN Summit COP15 in 2009, which was the world's first eco-certified political summit of its kind. The picture is from a side event targeted at civil society. And then what? Then it was time to strategize, moving from singular events with a sustainability focus to a more holistic view on sustainability efforts. So in 2016, our business strategy, Localhood, took the stand for us as a destination company that sustainable growth is the only relevant growth. This means that from this point, sustainability was considered in all of our measures and was considered an ambitious ambition for Wonderful Copenhagen. This led to sustainability strategy, Tourism for Good, which came out in 2018. Its ambition is that in 2030, tourism in Greater Copenhagen, which is Copenhagen and the area around it, positively impacts local and global development. This means that even though we use the wording of sustainability, this is actually a regenerative ambition. The strategy is publicly available on our website, so you can dive into it, so I won't spend so much time on it today. We take part in global benchmarking by participating in the GDS index as one of the founding members. I'll go back into that in a little while. And also we have been certified a green tourism organization, which is a third-party verified certification that we've had for 3 years in a row. This goes up to our own internal operations as a business, our waste management, our cleaning chemicals, and how we work as a business. I'll get back to that also in a little bit. Just a recent example, this year we launched the Copenhagen Sustainability Guide for events and meetings. It helps meeting planners consider sustainability in 6 relevant areas of planning that you can see depicted on the slide here. It can adapt to your level of ambition, so you can tap into if you have a moderate, medium, or high ambition within these areas of planning. It's aimed at Copenhagen, and the examples that it showcases are from Copenhagen, but of course we hope that it will serve as an inspirational tool in other places as well. And if I were to just single out one area of planning here, it would be that we also include lasting impact, because we are working very strategically with securing a lasting legacy, which is the positive impact that we get from large meetings and events, making sure that they benefit industry and the knowledge industry, like universities and also civic society. So making sure that the outcome of the event is maximized. Yes, so that's enhancing the positive impact as well as diminishing the negative impacts. Whew, so that was the journey, moving fast along. Now we have arrived at the conclusions. The first one, be aligned with the city administration. We have a very, very close cooperation with our municipality and regional governments. For example, many of the measures that we are measured upon in the GDS index are require action at municipality level or even regional level. Walk the talk. We want to lead by example. This is part of our own sustainability strategy, which is why this being certified as a green tourism organization helps us go through all the steps and better understand the steps that industries go through in their working with certification. Also, of course, it heightens our credibility that we are actually walking the talk. Collect data and knowledge. Let me pause here for a second because this is very important. In all of our measures as a destination company, we want to work knowledge-based, and this is especially important on sustainability measures. For example, some years ago, there were large concerns on over-tourism, which is also an issue we want to address with our sustainability strategy. The very, very vast data collection project, 10x Copenhagen, showed that while over-tourism was not a large problem in Copenhagen as a whole, there were experiences of over-tourism on ultra-local, almost street level. We could then direct our anti-congestion measures and anti-tourism measures directly at these areas instead of spreading them out over the whole of the city. This makes it much, much, much more efficient. Also, one point on that, Guy, you also highlighted the importance of measuring impact. This is very important. And as I'm sure all of you know, this is no easy task. So this requires some work and some strategic planning. Collaborate with citizens and partners. As a destination company, we exist for our partners, for the city, for the visitors, and for the citizens. Collaborating with these parties is a vital part of all we do, especially because in many cases, we are not the expert on a particular matter, but someone else that we collaborate with might be. And strategize. I've touched upon this already. Moving from singular measures to a holistic view on your sustainability efforts has an impact in itself. A singular measure might not be a success in itself, but as part of a larger strategy, it can have a vital role to play. Benchmark to become better. As you saw on the slides before, Copenhagen is doing well on many parameters, but also using these benchmarks can highlight where we're not doing so well and where we should plan our next measures. So this helps us update ambitions and move forward. The standpoint that was relevant, or the ambition that was very high 5 years ago, might not be very ambitious 5 years ago, 5 years from now, or even at the moment right now. Listen and develop. This is a natural, comes natural after collaborating. Seek inspiration, seek knowledge, be able to adapt your measures. Also, if you implement something and it meets reality and it turns out it's not working the way you thought, always be ready to adapt and be flexible. And the last one is share and connect. This is very, very important, and this is why I'm so happy to be invited here today to share our lessons learned. Keeping your insights a secret is not a part of sustainable development. Destinations might be competing against each other in their regular business, but humanity is competing together against climate change, against social inequality, and against all these threats that Guy highlighted in his presentation. I would say the era of leaving the business of fixing these problems to other sectors of industry is over. And I'll let that be my final message to you because I think my time is up. And moving on to questions and reflections.
Well, thank you, Pil. Thank you so much. That was inspiring, really. I really loved the closing words in particular. It is time to act now, and we can't really no longer dwell on the sidelines. We got to take actions and center stage. So, as you will have all noticed, we're nearing the end of the session. We didn't receive very many questions in the chat box. So is there anyone else that would now quickly write type a little question somewhere? Does anyone have one that they would like to ask and is burning? Because if not, we'll close here and define the next steps and what will happen after this webinar.
Maybe I'll just reply, Noah, to a message from Canon. Thank you, Canon-san. So there was a message about how the index works, and so I think that's an important thing. When the index is conducted, the cities upload their answers to the 71 questions. They're evaluated, and every city has to provide evidence. So what Pil and the team has done right the last month is provide evidence to how well they're doing or not well they're doing with different areas. Then that is then benchmarked against other cities. So we can see how well a city is doing against each other. And then we provide a detailed report that says what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of every city. And so that's very specific for the city. So there's a report just for the destination. And it says, you're doing this good, you're doing this bad. So, and then we provide a list of opportunities and recommendations. So we may say, well, you have a real opportunity to include legacy planning in your strategy, as Pil just mentioned, or you should do better citizen engagement. And then we would provide the examples, a bit like the case studies I shared today, of really what cities a destination should look at to get ideas. And so that concept of sharing and caring, as Pil was just talking about, is really a part of this fabric. Yeah, so that's it. And it kind of makes me happy when I see those slides from Pil, because this project came out of Copenhagen in 2009. It started initially as a result of the COP15 climate change conference that I was helping to organize. And working with Copenhagen, this is where we decided that we needed a better way to understand what sustainability meant for a city and how we compare each other. So it's a nice circle that we've come to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have to agree and echo that, Guy. So now just to go over some of the next steps. I've also received some questions in the chat asking about the video of this session. So yes, it has been recorded, it will be uploaded, and will be shared with you alongside some extra information about some of the things that we just talked about during this webinar. Now, if you have any questions that may pop up once you've been able to digest the contents of this webinar a little bit more, please write us, right? info@gds.earth. Take a screenshot of this also if it helps. And our websites and social media are also linked down below. So please contact us with any questions that you may have, especially if you think that your destination could do a slightly better job when it comes to integrating more sustainable practices. And on that note, yeah, it's a pleasure to have had you all here, and farewell. Wish you a wonderful rest of your day and evening.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. And have a good holiday tomorrow. I believe it's holiday in Japan.
Yeah, farewell, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.